So Cuomo looks like he's going down. The report came back, AG's report, and it's not looking good. The allegations have been corroborated, but there's something we really got to talk about. Let's talk about it. What we really got to talk about is how we got here. And not just Cuomo, because Cuomo's a scumbag. I mean, I believe that before the allegations. But with the allegations, I want to take a look at how he was enabled. Because do you remember how they placed Andrew Cuomo up on a pedestal? They made him not only look like a good guy, they made him the hero of the pandemic. And as ridiculous as that was, considering what a bully he was, considering these things he was doing to women, it was even more ridiculous considering what he was doing in the nursing home scandal and what he was doing and how he was mismanaging the COVID crisis here in New York State. To illustrate, one day I'm at home, sitting doing some work on the computer. I get a phone call from my mother who doesn't live in New York. She calls me up and says, "Oh my goodness, this man is so horrible. He's just, I'm disgusted watching him on TV." And I'm like, "Who?" She's like, "Donald Trump. He's just lying and just making stuff up. He's just so horrible." And so she's talking about how he's giving these press conferences. Because if you remember at that time, at the height of the pandemic, Trump was doing his press conferences, but they was just, an excuse for him to get in front of cameras and bloviate and, tout his own horn. And a lot of the stuff he's saying wasn't entirely accurate. But she's watching this and she's getting upset. She's getting annoyed at the stuff he's saying. And then she says to me, "But I'm so glad you're in New York because your governor has everything under control." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, your governor's doing such a great job." I said, "Mom, where did you get that idea from?" "Oh yeah, it's all over, the press. They're talking about how he's doing such a great job, how good he is, how he's taking such good charge." I said, "Mom, have you looked at the numbers?" She says, "What do you mean?" I says, "Mom, because this was the height of the pandemic when New York had the number one amount of deaths, the worst death rate in the United States, the worst death rate in the country. New York State was the worst. New York State was the epicenter of the pandemic in the United States." And they were promoting this idea that Andrew Cuomo was the hero of the pandemic. Just think about that. With the worst numbers, they promoted Andrew Cuomo as a hero. And people believed it. That's what should scare the hell out of you. That's what should make you just blow your mind. Because my mother's on the phone watching the news and whether just oblivious to the fact that we're here in New York, we were in the thick of things. We were facing the worst. And it was because the mismanagement of people like Andrew Cuomo. But they propped him up on this pedestal as if he was the hero of the pandemic. Remember, he goes on to write this book about how he saved the day. He did a George Bush mission accomplished. Worst state in the country, but he's writing a book about how he championed through the pandemic. It's absurd. But I tell her this. I say, "Mom, we have the worst numbers. We have the highest death rate." And she's like shocked. She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yes. Mom, stop believing the media." And that's what I want to talk about. The media. This is about the media because as bad and horrible a scumbag as Cuomo is, they made him into a hero. They lionized this degenerate scumbag. They had people going around calling themselves Cuomo-sexuals. They made the ultimate hero out of this disgusting villain. Because among other things, they were actually pretending that this guy should have been the president-elect, that this guy should have been the nominee for the Democratic Party. Just imagine that. Look at where we are today. And this should teach you, if you don't already know it, how diabolical the media is. Because this is about more than Andrew Cuomo. This is about how the media, and it was not just Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo by himself could not craft the picture of Andrew Cuomo that's been crafted. Everybody wants to make you think it was just Chris Cuomo. Because now people are just pointing, "Oh yeah, look what Chris Cuomo did." Chris Cuomo, of course, was doing it. That's his brother. That's what they do. He said, "I'm going to stick by my brother no matter what." Okay. But the rest of the media, Fox News, admittedly, was not on this particular bandwagon. But MSNBC, the rest of CNN, All of these people were running local media, were painting this picture of Andrew Cuomo as the ultimate hero of the pandemic, despite the fact that his numbers were the worst, despite the fact that he was an absolute degenerate of a human being. They were propping up this image of him as a hero, and people all over the country believed it. That's the lesson we need to get from this, because it speaks to the power, the influence of the media, and how they cannot be trusted. But it goes further than that, because when Lindsey Boylan, the first accuser, came forward late last year, there were stories that started to smear her. There were these implications made about how, oh yeah, she's running for office. Oh, she needs publicity. These are things people were saying or implying about her. This was the image they were trying to craft of her. And it was funny because she said, I am not the only one. There are others. She said it from the very beginning. She said it. There's a lot more. And people tried to pretend, she doesn't matter. And what it was is, Andrew Cuomo was very well protected. Well protected by the media, by other politicians, whether it's because they liked him or because they feared him. He was well protected. And for some reason, that hedge disappeared. That hedge of protection disappeared from around him. That's the only reason why we're here today. That's the only reason why we now know some of the extent of what a scumbag this dude is. Because the protection disappeared. Not because people actually, cared about doing what's right. Because even after these allegations were made, you still had a bunch of politicians running and kissing his ring. Just not too long ago, there are people that were at a fundraiser with him and still, standing in solidarity with him. And we have to remember who these scumbag, opportunistic politicians are, because they can't be trusted either. But that's the thing I want to remember. Above all else, yes, Andrew Cuomo's an absolute scumbag. But don't forget about the rest of the scumbags. Don't forget about the scumbags that gaslit the entire country into believing this man was a hero. Don't forget about the scumbags that protected this scumbag for years. Don't forget about the other scumbags that stood with this scumbag and tried to promote him and cover for him and raise money for him even after these allegations came out during the investigation. Don't forget about the other scumbags. As always, don't forget to give me the thumbs up, like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you disagree with me and you think, oh, Andrew Cuomo is a hero, he is a good guy, he is a great guy, this is just a smear, Donald Trump is behind this. 1, you're a fool. 2, give me the thumbs down and tell me why in the comment section, and I will call you a fool and tell you why, either in the comment section or in a future video. I'll see you next time.